Hello, everyone. It's just coming up to 2 o'clock. Thank you very much for joining this this webinar. We've got a few people who are starting to join the room already, and I think if we just leave it for another couple of minutes, just to let a few sort of latecomers join us, then we can sort of kick things off in a minute or two. But thank you all for joining, and I'm very much hoping you'll find the session useful. Just a couple of little things actually. On the right hand side, you should have a chat icon, a chat window there. So if you see any if you have any issues with the sound quality or pictures or anything like that, then please just chat. Or if you have any questions, please send us a chat note, and then we'll try to address it during the course of the webinar. Of course, if you can't connect, someone will contact you straight away to resolve those issues. But if you have any other questions about the content, any further questions for me, please do just send a message. And if I can't address them at the end of the session, then I'll come back to you afterwards. So we'll just give it a couple of minutes now, if you don't mind, just in case there's any people joining us late, and then we'll get started without further ado. How are we doing? Right, 2 minutes past. I think we should get going. There's a reasonable amount to go through. I'm going to try not to sort of kill you with slideware and all that sort of stuff. So, but there's a fair amount to go through. So I'll get started now. So hopefully you can all see my screen okay. There's a little plus sign in the top right corner. If you want to see more of the slides and less of me, which I would advise you to do, you can click that little plus sign, and then you'll be able to see more of the slides that are on there. Okay, so I'm going to get started now. Thank you all for joining us for this this webinar. I'm at home, as you can see, I'm not sure where you guys are today, given the announcement on Sunday. But basically, what I think we'll do is I'll spend a couple of minutes just talking about who I am and our company, just so you know who's talking to you. So you've got a bit of background, and then we'll sort of dive straight into the challenges that people are facing, or organisations are facing at this time. Okay, and then the main part of this webinar will be looking in a sort of quite a bit of detail, and very specifically where time is being lost in planning and reporting processes, and then we'll be sort of identifying the main areas where solutions and systems can help you to get some of that time back. Okay, and what I'm hoping to do is on point 3, when we look at how finance systems can help you, I would like to just log into a system if we have 5 minutes at the end, the current system we use for our customers at AIS, and just illustrate some of the points that we go through. Okay, so so first point, who am I? My name's Azim Khan. I'm one of the directors at AIS Consulting. My background's finance, so I'm a qualified accountant, previously working in commercial finance and also in management accounting. I was working in industry prior to year 2000, so I worked in industry for about 5 years, and in the last 20 years I've been delivering finance systems, let's say, for using tools like SAP, Oracle, and CCH Tagetik. CCH Tagetik, you may not have heard of. It's one of the newer, I should say, cloud tools, and it's the tool that we primarily work with now. So if I then go to our company, AIS, so we're established in 2001. We've done quite a lot of projects, probably over 120, and they've been mainly with SAP and Oracle and CCH Tagetik. The key thing to sort of point out here, so we're a consultancy. We implement solutions, we train our clients, we provide support, but also here we look at value management. So here we're really trying to help organizations see why they should invest in software solutions, what value are they going to get from it, what's the tangible business case and benefit case, and some of that thinking we'll be going through in this webinar. Okay, just a few of our customers. So we've over the last 20 years we've had the fortune of working with many companies. These are probably I picked out the ones that were the most well known, let's say. So these are a handful of our customers. Most of them of our organizations we work with have a turnover of between about 100 million euro and €1 billion, and these are some of the larger ones we've worked with. What I would say on here is, if you can see on the left hand side, or I don't know how as you see it, but on the side where you've got Johnson & Johnson, Empower, Experian, those sorts of organizations, over to that side is primarily SAP projects and Oracle HFM projects, and then on the right hand side from GlaxoSmithKline, Diageo, Bupa, those are newer projects that we've done using CCH Tagetik. So sorry about that. Let me just turn that off. So some well-known names here, and you know, we've worked with a lot of other organisations. So this is just an example of some of the sort of value benefits that we've provided to our customers, and I wanted to highlight this point because it's important for us to get across the rationale that we're actually, when we're looking at these sorts of projects, there's a tangible reason normally for us to do them. So it's not because people want to buy a shiny new piece of software. That's normally not it. It's normally because they want to improve something or change the way they do things. So for example, global pharmaceutical company here, they removed their budget process. They switched to a much slicker, much faster rolling quarterly forecast. So they became much more agile, much more accurate. A very large global food and beverages company, so actually a luxury beverage organization that we all know. They used these finance tools to bring in a concept of what they called a live plan, which was used by their sales and commercial teams and their production, their supply chain managers, so they could at a sort of get a real-time view of what's likely to happen in the organization. And then you can see you've got other sort of benefits here: better commercial insight, things like profitability, that sort of stuff, a reduction in time, so faster cycle time. So these are the sort of reasons that the organizations choose to go to a tool, and these are the sort of benefits you get by doing that sort of thing. Okay, so current challenges for everyone. Let me before I do that, actually, I'm just going to do a little poll here. So I'm currently working from home, and I just wanted to try to so let's get rid of that. Just wanted to see if this works okay. Share now. So I'm just doing a quick poll just to see where you guys are, if you are working from home at the office. We'll see here, everyone's home, 3 answers. A few of you don't want to press the buttons, it's okay. Got a bit of time to do that. Okay, so some of you are a little bit shy of the poll, that's okay. But what we can see here, 100% from home. Okay, so actually, I mean, I've seen a lot of movement out there where people are going to work. There seems to be a lot more activity, but I guess from our perspective at AIS, we're all at home working remotely. Let's come on to the current situation, just to sort of position what's happened so far and why finance systems may be useful to look at this time. So let's January, Feb, we're running as usual. business is performing as normal. Probably around mid-March, late March, lockdowns in, business momentum, if we can put it that way, is hampered. 2020 plans are obviously impacted. We've got a lot of customers in the who in the manufacturing space who are hit pretty hard in terms of reducing their production lines. They had to move and react very quickly. A lot of logistical issues around social distancing and trying to rearrange and reorganize factory and shift times around that sort of stuff. So definitely a big time where management teams and boards of directors had to focus on very near-term sort of logistical issues about how they can continue to operate in those circumstances. And of course, all of these types of business issues translate through and flow through to finance in our reporting and our planning. So plans are compromised. I mean, certainly from our perspective at AIS, we are primarily a consulting organisation. We have a pipeline, if you like, so of sales that we work towards, and we work with our vendor CCH Tagetik, and then those sales activities turn into new projects. And what we saw was in March that our sort of pipeline of interest, so these are the people who were looking at things, that all went on hold. The guys who are already on projects, that's all continuing, nothing's changed there. So we're thankfully we've got quite a few projects running, so that's hasn't impacted anything. And then people who were just about to sign either did or they didn't. So there was a bit of a sort of a lack of confidence, I guess, in the situation. So it put a bit of uncertainty, so things stopped. What we've seen now around the release of lockdown is obviously organisations are looking back to see what the impact is. We're starting to get a bit of interest from new inquiries, new lines of inquiry that we hadn't previously been talking to, who are interested in looking at things like systems to improve forecasting, systems to improve cash flow, that sort of stuff. So I suppose now things have settled down a little bit, and I guess people are working from home and seeing that they can work from home. We've had a bit of a slowdown in our sales pipeline due to confidence, but then now we're seeing that there's a sort of group of organisations who are trying to use this time to make things better and to improve their capabilities, let's say. So it's been quite an interesting time. So we expect, talking to our customers, we're working with them on things like 13-week forecast, that sort of stuff, so to try and get better visibility over the near term and a more accurate view of things. And we're anticipating that organisations are going to need to look forward towards the end of the year to replan, reforecast, get a best view on 2020 and then into 2021. And then I've said here, return to business as usual in 2021. Now, I've not, surprisingly, a lot of the senior finance guys I talk to haven't really got a plan in for a contingency for a next wave or anything like that. I don't know if it's just us, but they seem to be planning on what they know right now, which is quite interesting. But I'd expect that to change over the coming time. Okay. So challenges for people at this time. When I say people, finance teams in general, I guess you can expect there's going to be more forecast updates. The management team will need to get a view of things, what's likely to happen, what's changed, what's the impact. That's going to translate into sort of more forecasting, probably a little bit more frequently and a bit quicker. So there'll need to be some agility there, and we're seeing that across our customers. They're having to do that reporting, particularly if you've got a heavy investor, VC backed or private equity. Now those guys are putting a bit of pressure on, and there seems to be a lot of reporting, very frequent updates, forecasts, and so on and so forth. Business scenarios and simulations will become important. The what ifs, what if this happens, what if that happens. We're seeing in some of our manufacturing companies I was talking to earlier today in sort of project updates, they're reviewing their production plans and and looking at how much stock they've got in order to meet demands. And this is globally, right? So it's not like a factory. This is organizations, and CFOs have this issue now where they're looking at what's the impact been on production, what demand do they have, what does their order book look like, do they need to increase production, and one of our customers does. They don't hold a lot of stock. They're going to have to increase a lot of production, so they're going to have to manage that with this social distancing and sort of reduced working arrangements. So there are some very tangible problems that are translating into CFOs having to go through forecasts with the board to explain what the impact is, and if they go with option A, what's that going to do? If they go with option B, what's that going to do? So, and it's early days, right? I think we're just coming out of that gradual easing of lockdown, and I think there's going to be a lot more of this. I certainly would expect there to be. I think I'd be very surprised if the sort of rate of forecasting and that sort of stuff stayed the same. So you've got to do all this stuff. Close monitoring of cash is another thing, and then looking at your organization's finance and sort of debt structures is also probably going to become more prevalent at this time. There's going to be an increase on that side of things, but then at the same time, there's going to, I guess your normal day job doesn't stop, so you've got to do those things also. Adding complexity, you're all working from home today, and probably everyone's not going to return to work. I think a lot of organisations have prepped. They've gone through a process where their finance team members can work from home, and so they've got that operational. And so I wouldn't anticipate finance teams suddenly flooding back into the office. So you've got all this stuff to do, most probably, and if you're heavily if your normal monthly processes take a lot of time, then how do you create more time? So that's the sort of purpose of this webinar. I'm just going to keep an eye on the time here. So and then what was I going to do? So here I just want to ask another poll, actually, and the question here is, since the pandemic's hit and we've all been away from the office, my question's, has the time you spent on things like reporting and your sort of day-to-day management, including ad hoc requests from up above, has that increased, or is it still the same, or is it reduced because you're all remote? So I'm just gonna I think it's this one here. Oh no, it's not that one. Just bear with me a sec. Sorry. Okay, so here I'm firing this one out to you. Let's see what responses we get here. So since the corona pandemic hit, more or less time on planning and reporting? More, the same. Okay, fine. The same and more. It's definitely not less. Okay, and I think that, so I would say that's been what our, that's the 70-30 split there. I would say some of our customers are not seeing a big change. They're continuing with their normal processes, albeit remotely. I would say that those organisations haven't done any reforecast. They haven't changed their reporting content and scope, but others have. They've introduced more granular reporting, more frequent reporting, a heads up on operational stats in the financial reporting side of things. So yeah, that's interesting. So on balance more, but some of the same. Okay, I take it all you guys can see these polls. So if I go to the next item here, which is how can finance systems help you? So why do we? I mean, why would you opt to get a finance system? As I mentioned before, you don't do it because you want a new system. You don't do it for the sake of the system. You do it because you want to improve things. So these are, and I guess the way you do that, and people normally talk about it as value. So there's a trade-off. You normally have to invest. You pay for a solution. You pay for consulting services normally. And then there's an internal cost, which is the time of your team. to support the project and all that sort of stuff. So there's a cost, and then against that there's a benefit. So that benefit's normally weighed up in tangible and intangible terms, and we sort of group that benefit together to say what value is that investment going to bring. So normally systems implementations bring these areas. I mean, you'll hear them called under different titles: efficiency, effectiveness, transparency, etc. But what we do when we go through our workshops with finance teams is to put them into these categories. So we've got efficiency, which is fairly straightforward. That's less effort, that's faster, and this is going to be the sort of core focus of this webinar. We're going to focus on efficiency because the theme is how do you create more time for your teams. So less effort, faster, more automated. It's obviously a key thing, and less manual tasks. So really, it's just sort of about ironing out those manual tasks that you can get a system to do. That's the objective here. We're not trying to put robots in and automate everything. It's more about those things that are just they add to your mental effort, and they add to your physical effort. You've got to keep an eye on things. You have to be mentally aware of things. We want to sort of reduce those and try and systemize those things where we can. So that's efficiency. Controls, very important. And here's where the sort of the mental side of things comes in. Often you've got to put, sort of surveillance over things to keep control if you don't have an online system to help you manage a process. So controls help support better process governance, a better confidence in the process, those sorts of things. Accuracy, the right results for actuals, better forecasting. So those are obviously great. The right results you need to have, and better forecasting is often very useful for your business. So then insights, better business decisions, profitability. Insights is a bit of a longer burn normally. So insights will give you the best benefit out of any change project. It will give you something that it's not an efficiency in the finance process itself, but it's a business level benefit. It's telling you something that you didn't know beforehand. It's giving your managers some insight to say that product's not as profitable as you think it is when you take this and this into account. Therefore, bear that in mind with your decision making. So insight is their sort of business level benefits, and empowering is something that didn't really used to be on the value thing, sort of value equation, 20 years ago, but now there's a lot more of movement towards finance teams wanting to be empowered. I mean, that's the sort of consulting marketing term, but really it's self-service for finance. It's finance guys being able to actually manage their own processes, decide what goes into reporting, and make that change themselves. So as the tools are becoming more user-friendly, empowerment's becoming something that it becomes a key sort of decision criteria when people are choosing between systems. So we see that a lot in selection processes where people are very much sort of they want to have tools that are easy to use and that they don't need IT guys to always sort of help them get any little thing done. So that's a key thing there. So, but the focus for us today is on efficiency. And what I would say is in most or all projects that we've engaged in, my experience over the last 20 years, efficiency, controls, and empowerment are the ones you get easy. Let's say you're much more likely to get those and get those faster. So as soon as you've implemented, you'll get those things straight away. Accuracy and insights. You'll get those hopefully a little bit further down after you've run and you're live for a few months. You get to know the tools, you get to see what they can do for you, and then you have to sort of ask the question of the tools, the finance tools, so they can help you do that. So for things like better forecasting, for example, or more accurate forecasting, what normally happens is we'll implement a forecasting process that's easier to do because it cuts out all of the manual tasks. So organizations can then forecast more frequently. So when they forecast more frequently, they get more accurate. So it doesn't happen on day one, but it happens over time. You learn, and that's what happens. Okay. Just 2 secs. I'm just going to have a quick look to see what I've got here. Okay. Rightio, just on to the next slide here. So this is just an overview of a process. And what I want to do here is a very, very high level view of a process. And I wanted to just walk through the main steps and then highlight those areas which typically take a lot of time. And of course, when we look at how systems help, we're gonna go through how do systems help you to reduce the time on those low value activities. Okay, so here I've grouped budgeting and forecasting together. I know they're slightly, I know they're very different processes, but for the purposes of this and really when we're looking at manual tasks, there's normally some overlap between budgeting and forecasting processes. So here, prepare budgets and forecast templates. You'll see here actually I've got we've got the Excel icon here. So this means I've used Excel as it's most frequently used offline templates. And by offline template, I mean it's a non-systemized, it's not an online process that you're using to collect information and report. So we've got Excel here. It doesn't need to be Excel. Any offline method of capturing data, of collecting information, reporting. So I just wanted to ask this question. I'm doing a poll here again. We're looking at budgeting and forecasting, and I'm going to ask whether you use a lot of Excel in these processes. And there's normally you've got we use it a lot. Then there's people that say no, we don't. We've got online stuff. We don't really use it. And then you've got those guys. It's sort of sometimes in the middle who just say we've got systems, but actually we end up using Excel. So let me just send that to you. Share now. This is quite an interesting one. When we were working with a lot with SAP solutions, we would have we had quite a few organisations who they'd bring us in to sort of remedy their processes. So they would have implemented SAP, and then it wouldn't quite give them what they wanted. They'd bring us in. We do sort of value workshop, understand why they're not getting the benefits, and quite often you'd have a sort of an end-to-end seamless system working, and then the actual information that finance and the board needed at the end, they download that into Excel, then chop and change it a little bit, and then just report it. And it's just, so you can actually, some organizations spend a lot of money on systems projects and they don't quite get exactly what they need out of the end. So that's what that middle one is there. We use finance systems, but also a lot of Excel. Okay, so not everyone's answered that. So it's a bit of both. We use it for everything, and then we use finance systems, but also a lot of Excel. Okay. No one is saying we don't use it at all just yet. Okay. Okay. So that's interesting. So, I mean, Excel's in use. It looks across the board. In some cases, it's used for a lot of things. In which case, the effects of what we're looking at in terms of these time savings, these are greatly sort of magnified when you're looking at organizations that use Excel for everything. So for you guys that use it for everything, I think this, you'll get the immediate benefits of a systems project, and we can go into what those are. For those that use it, some partly, obviously we need to understand how much of it is partly being used, and for those areas which are Excel is being used for, how much of a drain is that really? It could be it's not, could be it is. That's case by case basis really. So creating templates. The first area I'm looking here on the, I don't know if you can see my my hand sort of hovering around here. I'm hoping you can. So prepare budget and forecast templates. So if you're looking at a legal a group here, and you've got perhaps a number of entities, you're going to produce templates by entity. If you've got cost centers, you'll produce cost center splits. It'll be overheads by cost center. It'll be P&L balance sheet by entity. It's never that straightforward where you've got to fill in one template. In sort of organizations of a certain size, you always have a number of templates that you need organizations your units who are submitting areas to fill in. And the second point here, so creating templates is always, I would suggest it's always a risky process. And in some cases, it can be quite a painful process. Some organizations say, oh, we just roll it over. It's fine. We just take a copy, we just change this, run a thing, and then, it's all done. But then if you change something fundamentally, like you put in some new accounts, or you put in a new entity, or you change the structure, reorg, you've got to check everything to the nth degree. So you always get that risk with spreadsheets. Load comparative data. So when you sort of looking at your budget templates, your forecast templates, you've got to get your actuals in there, I would presume. So I'm doing my next year's budget, I might have my prior actuals comparative. If I'm doing a forecast, 3 + 9, I've got to get 3 months actuals, 9 months forecast. Fine, I input that. When I go to 6 + 6, 6 months actuals, so on and so forth. So normally this slide is not going to cover everything, but you get the sort of the point that normally you've got to put your comparatives in. They've got to get in there somehow into your template. So that's a task. It's an activity. It may take a small amount of time, may be painful and take a long amount of time, but it's a task you wouldn't need to do with a system. Once you've got templates sent out, you're supporting them remotely. You're then going to I'm just aware of time, actually. I'm running a bit behind, so I'm going to speed things up a little bit. But templates sent out, you're on the phone, we sent you the templates, they're ready to go. You send an email saying please complete them, they send an email back saying we've done it. It may not be quite like that, but it's it's sort of disjointed a little bit, and there's manual steps in between. You're losing time on those things, and you've got to keep your wits about you to know exactly what's going on when. Consolidating, obviously you've got templates, you're consolidating them. I don't need to go into this point. I don't think it's obvious. That can be risky and time consuming. Review and challenge. Quite interesting point. Someone sends you some data in, you say you don't like it, you want them to go away and do something with it. It's a backwards and forth. Again, you're doing it. They then come back with a new version. But they've updated their budget. It's a version 2 for them only. The other guys, everyone else is the same. They've now got a new version. You don't like something, again, it goes back out, and this is happening across entities, and you need to, again, sort of keep an eye on everything to make sure that you're getting the right versions all lined up. You've probably got sort of Excel methods to do that. Most people do. They've got a process. They say, actually, it's not that bad. We do it like this, and we increment the version this way, and then we've got these cross checks. However, compared to a system that does that sort of thing automatically and intrinsically, it frees up a lot of your time. Adjust and iterate until agreed. This is budget iterations. I don't think I need to spend too long on this. Obviously, if you're sending items backwards and forwards and trying to agree stuff, that can be quite time consuming. And at the end, produce the budget pack. So you've probably got a pack or a report pack that you use. So same sort of thing on that. It's a pack. It's there. You know what it's going to look like. You probably roll it over, create it each month, or sorry, not month, for budget annually, or for your forecast every quarter. But it's not something you should need to do if you've got a system. The system does that for you. Some systems will just distribute stuff for you via PDL. Some will allow you to update your PowerPoint and Word packs. Okay. So next one, I'm just quickly going to go through management reporting of actuals. So similar sort of concept. Here I've got in the case where I've got templates, I'm rolling forward. So again, you have use of Excel. I've got my month-end packs, my management accounts. I'm collecting those, but I need to populate them with my data. I may have a bit of intercompany if I'm a group organisation to deal with. Again, that's quite difficult if you're using spreadsheets. If I'm, this is the concept of when if I'm a group and I've got entities, I need my entity to sign off numbers before I can consolidate it, before I'm really prepared to share that with my management team. Similarly, if I'm not a group and I'm just a large organisation and I've got a departmental or cost centre structure, I want those cost centre managers and those departmental managers to sign off their bits before I start reviewing it. I don't want to review something that's half done. So I know with spreadsheets that can be managed by sending things through, but with the systems you've got a concept of workflows to control that sort of thing. It makes it a lot slicker, thereby ultimately saving time. Consolidation of actuals. I mean, there's a lot in there. Eliminations. If you're consolidating entities, the whole statutory side of it, intercompany elims, currency, if you've got that. So, rather than just adding things up, I suppose that whole consolidation become a little bit more complex. Again, a lot of that comes out of the box with these sort of systems. So they're designed to do that. They take away that pain from you. Okay. Review and challenge again, particularly around commentaries, exception reporting. Why is this different from the budget? Often tools can help you with that. They can highlight things where you're going to need commentary and be very proactive on that. So people need to submit their commentary while they submit their numbers if they go outside of a certain tolerance. So you get lots of things like that. Again, saving that time. Then management reporting and reg reporting. Obviously you can have management packs. There'll be monthly board meetings. That a lot of the finance information will go into that. So there'd probably be a production of a PowerPoint. For statutory reporting, you've got all of the disclosure notes and all that sort of stuff. Again, if you've got that in Excel, it's just, thankfully it's only half a year and at year end, because it's a lot of information to gather there. Doing that in Excel is just not much fun. What I'm going to do is just quickly do a poll, and this is really around whether or not you're using Excel for stat reporting. So same question as for budgeting and forecasting, but sometimes people have a management tool, or they're using their Dynamics ERP system or something. They've got actuals covered, and they don't have that for budgeting and forecasting. So yeah, we've got a few people there. So we use finance systems. Yes, that's to be expected. So normally organisations will have more scope for management reporting that come with their ERP system or the general sort of ledgers that they can use. Okay. But obviously, when you get to consolidation, that can be a different matter. If it's just a management reporting at your entity level, then yeah, the GL tools will have those sort of things with them. But when you're coming to consolidate, proactively manage intercompany and get all the sort of stat side of things out, and it could be that you could do with some help from a consolidation type tool. Okay. So how are we doing? 37. So how do systems save time? So I've jumped straight into here. How do systems save time? Less time spent maintaining templates. So I think we've talked about the issue around that. And I've got here, there's all the issues with creating those templates. And when I say all the issues, it's just, the time to do that monthly, quarterly, and then budget annually. Then you need to roll them forwards, and you've got issues with version control. When you use systems to do that, you don't have that at all. It's the one thing, and this is across the board, I would suggest, depending on whichever system you're going with. I would say 75% of systems on the market that help with management consolidation, stat console, or budgeting and forecasting, they'll have a approach where they centrally sort of store data, and then you can sort of put intelligent templates over the top of that data. So for example, if you've got a P&L and you're creating one for each entity, with these sorts of systems, you don't need to do that. You just create the one template and you filter it, one for entity one for entity two. It's the same template, one point of maintenance. So this becomes basically a massive time saving, and it's the easiest one to implement, basically. So you tend to have to implement these sorts of systems in this way, and it just takes away that time that's needed to keeping on creating these templates monthly, quarterly, annually. So that's an easy one to sort of get to grips with. Well, then go to next one. You stop having to move data around the whole time. Okay, I could have done better with that sentence there. It's not particularly easy to read. What do I mean by that? So when you've got like I said, in your normal reporting, you've got various templates. You've got various sort of types of packs. You've got budget packs. You've got data entry forms to collect budgets and that sort of stuff. And you're always moving. You tend to always have comparative data, let's say. So it was a point I think I made on the budget process slide. When you've got a budget collection template, you've got to get your actuals in for prior year. You've got to get your actuals in your forecast template for the first 3 months, first 6 months for that forecast template. actuals for the first 9 months in your 9+3. In your management reports, you've probably got your forecast and your budget information in there as for comparative purposes. For your statutory reporting, you've got your prior year in there. And a lot more so we're seeing in operational reporting. You may have, product analyses, product groups, sales by product group, sales by channel, those sorts of things. More and more now we're seeing those creep into. They're becoming increasingly present in management information packs that boards are asking for when they're doing their reviews. So there's a whole raft of information that's non-financial that's making an appearance now more and more. So having a system where you're loading information in once, and then that's being used for all these different reports is a good thing. It saves you a lot of time with moving data around, double checking it's the right version of the data. It's a task that happens. It just doesn't, it doesn't need to happen basically with these sorts of tools. And of course, if you've got, I'm looking on the right hand side here, I've got a system, central database. I load my actuals in. If that system also does my budgeting and forecasting, I don't need to load that in because I'm creating those in there. It's already there, so I'm saving time there as well. So this feels like it's a sort of a forgotten point, but from working on projects, you do see how many times people need to put that same information in different places. And if you've got a system that does it for you, you don't have to keep multiple copies of that data to show it in different places. You just keep it once, and you just surface it in different reports and templates. Okay. So how else do they save time? So this is so these are things that we often hear. But so when I go into a workshop with a prospective customer, we do workshops, so I'll come on to the end, workshop with prospective customers, finance teams, and we basically they'll have approached us because they have an issue or problem, and they think software tools can help them with that. And there's normally a few things that sort of spring to mind. They normally say, well, how about this? How would you manage that? And how about this? How would this? We have a problem with this. How would you do that? These are those sort of questions that come up. This year, a couple of our new customers had just acquired big businesses, so they had effectively doubled in size. So they want to know how they're going to manage their reporting, where they've suddenly doubled. And the main finance department becomes a group finance department across two businesses. How are we going to do that? So that we acquired a business. Can you produce the next one? Can you produce that report, but by product group? So this is that sort of trend, I would say, of more operational stuff becoming important. The theme, if you like, of 2010 onwards was integrating finance and operational information, and that's really come through. So it's not just your GL systems that are loading into these tools now. It's often sales systems, sales forecasting systems, HR systems. Wherever there's a heavy impact of something on your financial statements and your P&L balance sheet, whatever impacts profit, cash, those things become highlighted, and there's more detail, there's more granularity around them. So for sales, it's sales numbers no longer good enough. It's got to be split by this, got to be split by channel, against performed against latest estimate. There's more and more of that as people sort of boards hone in and try to work out the best path forward. Okay, we've changed the chart of accounts and need this reflected in the report. So this is, we make changes. We don't want to go through and change every single template for it. You don't have to if you've got a system. You do it in one place, that rolls out. So that's something that happens. We want to run a 13-week forecast now. This was one of our customers had asked that question recently, because they're running a forecast anyway to make it at a granularity of weekly rather than monthly. That's the sort of thing you can do very easily with a system. You can make that change, and then it's rolled out automatically. You don't have to send it all out to people. You just make that change centrally, and then it's available to people. Direct cash flow weekly. Again, a couple of our customers are looking at direct cash flow now. They want to see a 3-month very accurate view of cash. So with the tool that we work with, there's a cash flow, direct cash flow module. So they've got the option of rolling that out. So with these tools, you've often got sort of additional areas that are useful. They're there for a reason. Finance teams use them. So you're going to have that they won't have to build that model in Excel or wherever it is. It's there. They use it. Their data is already in the system. They use it. It will churn out that cash flow. Reorg on entities, and can you update templates to add? So looking further out across the forecast. So there's changes to processes, to timelines, to granularity, roll-ups, reorganizations. All those things can be done quite easily, okay, with systems in place. Time saved through online working workflows. So this is about workflow. Did you finish? Can I start? So the P&L balance sheet's done. Now you can do your cash flow. Do you have a latest version? Was it the budget V1, budget V2? Those sorts of things. Systems take control of those, so you sort of tend to go away from that. And then we've got here, they changed the cost number. We need to redo the packs and so on. So there are lots of time-saving ways you can basically improve. If I just the next ones I've got are just around financial reporting automations, which is against the same sort of theme. I don't want to go through this detail because there's time remaining, but it's you've got lots of packs. All of that stuff should be automated. We should be looking at Excel, Word, PowerPoint, PDF, web stuff coming out of the system. Okay, so all that stuff should be automated. Calculations, again, there's a lot of stuff normally under the bonnet in these systems. What I do want to do now is to share my screen, and I want to log into just to illustrate some of this stuff. So I'm going to go into the CCH Tagetik system here, which just needs to be refreshed. Sorry. So I'm hoping you can see that on my screen just now. So this is just to illustrate a few of the points we were talking about. So here we've got an online cloud solution, and some of the things we talked about, templates, workflow, how that can help you sort of manage your processes. So I've got a solution here. I've got my close and consolidation process and my planning process in here and my forecasting process. So I've got the one solution that I can use for my actuals. I can use it for planning. I can use it for forecasting. So all of that information's in one place, in one central storage area. So I don't have this problem of moving data around. Everything's in one place. Okay. So if I then go into my close and consolidate, this is a point on workflows, how systems can help you, people who are online in different locations, how they can work together. So here I've got a process in the system. It's showing me I've got for my actual reporting, load the trial balance, do your intercompany matching, load your supplementary information, update your disclosures, and then run your consolidation. So there's a process here that I can follow. I can also see here that I've got these units or entities. I can see who's submitted, who hasn't submitted, and so on and so forth. So I've got visibility over the whole process, which is a useful thing to have, particularly if you're at the center. And this doesn't need to be here in this example. We've got it via with entities. For other organizations, it could be that they're not looking at a group consolidation, but they're looking at collecting information from their cost centers or their departments. So you've got a departmental regional view, but you can see where you are in these processes. One of the points we talked about earlier, automation of data. So here we've got a workflow here actually taking us or guiding us through a process. So this is important when we've got Excel. We don't have these sorts of things, these sorts of tools. So with so effectively we have a bit of a disjointed manual sort of steps in between these. But here we've got a workflow that says these are the things you need to do, and these are the steps you should do them in. So here I can go to trial balance upload. I can upload my TB, just take a data file, just upload. I'm just doing this. I mean, I don't really need to, but it's just to show just to demonstrate that things can be done quite quickly. So obviously here I'm manually uploading the file, but you wouldn't need to do that. In practice, you could just connect it to your Dynamics system or your SAP system or whatever. You can see here the data's loaded for that particular entity, so it's very, very quick. And then we can see also we've got controls around this. This is all saving me time. So when I've tried to load the data in, it's loaded everything. It says you haven't mapped on-demand e-learning. So I go back and map that and then load it, and then it's all, so I've got controls in there. I know my numbers are going to be right because it's all mapped and the system's checking it for me. Okay. If I go to my reporting, and this is the concept of templates here. So we talked a lot about Excel templates and not that concept of not having a million different spreadsheets, one for each entity, one for each department. So here we've got it's an income statement or summary income report, and this is our concept of template. So I can run this for any month. I can also run this for any entity, and I also have the ability to change my reporting period. So what we're looking at here is a template. So in Excel, we would need to create a number of these, one for each period, one for each entity, one for each reporting period. Whereas here, I've just created a template once, and if I need to add in new accounts, I would do it once only in a central place, and then that would be pushed out to all the other templates. So it's a good time-saving sort of thing to have. Okay, and then I've got options around reporting. So we're talking about time-saving. If I'm looking at my reports, I mean, this is not a terribly good example of this one, but I can click on here. I've got my analysis. So I've got 1907 is my number, and I can just drill down on that number now to get the detail underneath. So I can run reports, and then on those live reports, I can drill down to get the detail underneath here. Yeah. And if I've got something like my sales revenue here, 18,301,000, I want to now say, well, what does that make up? I know my sales is split by products, it's split by customers. How am I going to do that? Then we've got tools like this, which are for ad hoc reporting. So I can now take that 18 million. I can say, well, give me products and give me customers and give me more, give me that 18 million, which we're looking at here, but split it out by products and customers. Give me more granularity. Let me see how it's made up. And again, I've got the 18 million here. So, very, very quickly you can get beneath the numbers. My balance sheet, I can even drill into my ERP system. So here I've got a balance, my accounts receivable balance of 1,995,000, and I can drill through. So I can go, okay, give me the invoices that make up that 1.9 million. So I've got that here, so I can go through. So all of these things, they save time. In real time, I can go and look at things that would take a phone call, would take a bit of investigation. You can really get around and save a lot of time with these sorts of solutions. We're looking in the web. Here we've also got Excel, an Excel sort of reporting part to this. So a lot of organizations, they've got Excel. They actually quite like Excel. That gives them what they need, but they don't want the templates, the hundreds of templates, and the fact that data is not stored in one place. So with some of the tools that are out there, you can use Excel add-ins that work a bit like Excel. So you can see here I've clicked on consolidated balance sheet, income statement, cash flow. Again, it's a template, so it's asking me what consolidation do you want to look at. I'm looking at my 2018 US dollar, period 12, and then it's going to provide me an Excel template, but with a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. I mean, here I'm not trying to do an in-depth product demo here on what's in this solution. I'm just illustrating the points to say, you can have this information. It saves you time. You load it up. You run the consolidation. It gives you your entities. It consolidates for you. It does these consolidation adjustments for you, intercompany, financial investments, non-controlling interests, and if you want to get into the detail, again, it's a click away. So if I'm looking at my non-controlling interests, or minority interests rather, I've got a 3 million balance. Tell me what's in that 3 million balance. With all, with these sorts of tools, there's often a way you can just lowest level elements. You can just drill down and get into the detail. So I'm looking at my 3 million. That's a consolidation adjustment for all my minority interests. And you can see here, it then gives me the numbers. I've got my entities. So by my entities, I've got the consolidation adjustment total, which is the 3 million, and I've got it split by those entities. So I know where that numbers come from. And with all these systems, this is not part of the time saving stuff. This is about control and audit, but I've got origins saying, where's that come from? It's come from my consolidation rule for minority interest. It was run by Al, who's in group finance, and he ran it at this date. So that's how that got posted. Okay, just 5 more minutes left. Let me just briefly go on to what other themes do we have? So we were talking about so we talked about templates. We did a brief illustration of that. We talked about automatic data loading. We've looked at Excel, how that can be used for your Excel templates. We've been looking at an actual reporting process here. There's also planning processes you can have in the same place. Oh yeah, so when we look at additional tools and sort of benefits of having these solutions, so I mentioned that we've got organizations who are looking at direct cash flow forecasting. So they've got a planning process they run in CCH Tagetik, and we can see here we've got sales plan, we've got HR plans, so we've got all of those different plans, but it's an integrated planning framework. So when you put your sales plan in, it automatically updates your P&L. When you put your HR plan in, it updates your HR costs. You've got a consistent view of things. You're not having to cross-check everything. Again, it's saving time in that reconciliation. Here I've got a driver-based plan. I can do all the things like the basic things we expect from planning solutions. I can take my total units, which is 128. I can then I can change it based on seasonality. I can overtype this number and then put in a total units of 150,000, and that will break back across everything. So there's that sort of planning stuff that's there. We've also got things. I'm just coming out of this here. Sorry. So we've got concept things like additional areas like cash flow planning. So here I've got my product sales. I've got that by month for this product, and then I can go to utilities. Oh, sorry, not utilities. It's the cash flow planning here. So again, with these sorts of tools, and depending on which one you go for, they'll have these additional features and stuff like that you can really use. So here I've got a cash flow plan. So for that number, which was a million there, I've got 1 million in sales, I've got 1 million in month 2, and then I've then got a billing line. So it's working out my billing. I've then got a net 45 days credit term. It's working out my cash flow there, so I can look at the cash flow. So what I'm looking at here is my P&L breaking out into my sort of driving my balance sheet and then driving my cash. And I can do, I suppose there's a pretty way of looking at this, but I guess what as accountants you want to say what this looks nice, but what's behind it all. So we do have if I go to view entries, and this is probably the final point, and it's a terrible one to end on because it's just numbers, but for us guys as in finance, we do want to see the integrities there. We want to see that the system's actually doing what we want. So we've got P&L line, it's 1 million in sales here. I've then got my P&L line 2, which is giving me the other 1 million in sales. I've then got, if you can look here, I've got the double entry. I've got my accounts receivable, 2 million going against accounts receivable, 2,700,000, which is made up of the the sales number plus my VAT number. So I've got the transitory VAT in here of so I've got VAT, accounts receivable. So basically what the system's doing is it's working out from your sales number what the balance sheet should be, so the forecast balance sheet, and it's then working out the cash postings. But it's doing all this in the forecast. So you've got that. This is all inbuilt. So you get these sorts of things with these sort of system tools. So on the one hand, really try to get finance. So stop sharing. I'm just going to do the final thing here. So oops, there's me there. Okay, who's still with us? I couldn't see who was leaving or still with us. But you can see there you get the benefits from going to templates and that sort of stuff, but then you get this additional functionality that in this instance with the pandemic, it's quite useful to have things that help you forecast quicker and deep cash forecast and all that sort of stuff. So we're almost done. Anyway, I didn't cover everything that I wanted to, but I do want to just do a final little a final thing around whether this webinar is useful, and then to offer if there's other areas you may be interested, please do contact me. We'll be doing a deep dive on budgeting and forecasting in about 3 weeks to a month, and then one on management consolidation and reporting. If you do want to get in touch about a workshop, as I mentioned, we do these workshops to really review processes and then to give you a view of where systems can help. Pretty agnostic view, even the systems in general. So if you're thinking about that, then this might be useful. It takes 2 hours, can be done remotely. And if you want to see the CCH Tagetik solution, or you're interested in that particular software, please do give me a shout. But thank you very much, everyone, for attending the workshop, or the webinar, sorry. I'm just going to do a final little thing that I'm sharing. This one's not what probably won't be shared with you all. It's just asking questions around do you want any follow-up, that sort of stuff. If you do want to book a system demo or a process assessment to review your processes, then please you can just click the form to fill it in. But thank you very much, everyone, for attending, and I hope this has been useful. We've run over by 2 minutes. I've done a lot of rambling. I'm going to drink a few glasses of water now. I hope you have a great weekend, and yeah, you guys will all have my LinkedIn details. So I've been in touch with quite a few people around that. Then please do get in touch. Also, just and if you can help me with this, I'll be very grateful. We did advertise this event on LinkedIn, and we then needed people to register on this webinar platform, and we did see a lot of fall off in that transition from LinkedIn to the Demio platform. So I would be interested if there is anything we can do to help that in terms of being clearer about the communication. I don't know what your experience was, but if you have any thoughts there, then that I'd be very, very grateful if you would share that with me. Okay, thank you very much, everyone, for attending. I hope you all have a good weekend, and until next time.